Madison Mallards. This will be Vern's 17th season with the Northwoods League. And in this area, we've seen this league grow over the years and now includes 18 teams throughout northern Midwestern states. He was named the league's Executive of the Year in 2003 and 2005. This will be Vern's 5th year as president of the Mallards and having spent the previous 8 seasons as the team's general manager. He is also currently a co-owner of 2 other Northwoods League teams. That's the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters, and the Kenosha Kingfish. So a little alliteration there. But what's really behind the incredible success and vision of the minor league baseball is a lot of energy and some fascinating marketing strategies. Vern's innovative promotional ideas and steady vision have contributed to the league's consistent top ranking in attendance in all of minor league baseball. He's helped get over 200,000 fans each year to the Duck Pond, and from between 2006 and 2013. In 2012, the Mallards set an all-time summer collegiate baseball league record of over 217,000 fans. So as we anxiously await sunshine and summer, let's give a warm welcome to Vern Stenman.
Thank you so much. You're too kind with the nice introduction there, for sure. And I've been somewhat joking that I don't complain about the weather until the baseball season starts. So hopefully that practice will yield us some good weather here soon. We're only 10 days away, I think, from starting the Mallard season. We open up on May 27th, the Tuesday after Memorial Day at home, and couldn't be more excited. We're getting into our 14th season here with our team in Madison, and you know, our goal every year is to just get a little bit better than we were the year before, and we've never really set out to accomplish any of the specific things that we have done over the years, to be honest with you. We've really just focused on trying to have incremental growth every year and have something we can look back on an annual basis and point to and say we did that really well. And you know, every year though, which really is a very humbling side of what we do, it feels like there's a lot of things we can get better at. And you know, I'm trying to think if I should go into the, I'll start with some of the specific questions that Terry had of me to kind of get started, and I'll kind of get into some of the things later that you'll see specifically with our team in Madison and beyond. You know, she wanted to talk a little bit about the creative marketing side of things, and I've got some stuff that I'm going to share with you here, so bear with me a second. That's a big one. I'm gonna pass these around quick. If you wanna, everyone want to grab one quick, and you can do the same thing with these guys. There you go. I was speaking with Josh before, and we really take a lot of pride in our printed collateral. We've been very fortunate since I think it was 2006 was our first year. We started working with a group called Shine United. Not everybody knows Shine, but they're down just off of State Street in the building that used to be the White Horse. And they don't have a ton of local clients, but they've got some spectacular international clients and national clients as well that they're doing some unbelievable work for. In my opinion, they're the best creative agency in all of Madison and probably beyond. And this is a piece that they put together for us a few years ago. We really kind of shifted the way we do a lot of our business. It used to be a very small group of people, myself and 3 or 4 other guys or girls working with us, and we promoted like crazy, and we did crazy stuff, and we hoped people would come to our baseball games. And a lot of times it worked. You know, I was speaking with Amanda over here, and she, I'm sorry, Ann, is that right? And she reminded me of the night we had Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca in the Star Wars movies, come out to a game, and I think it was 2005 when we did that. And it was unbelievable. The crowd was spectacular. He charged $20 a piece for autographs. And every other appearance we've done at the stadium, we've never actually had a fee. They've always been free autographs. And so I was very concerned that we were going to offend some people and that people might not want to pay the fee. He signed for 3.5 hours straight with no complaints at all, except for from Peter, who got a little worn out by the whole thing. But we've done a ton of things along that line, and even the Mayhew night is a good example. If I remember correctly, I think we walked up that night about 3,000 people to come to our game. We probably had about 6,000 people in attendance for the game, which is about an average crowd for us. The scary thing is that, you know, if weather is bad, or if the idea that we have isn't as good as we maybe thought. You know, one of our favorite stories from over the years, we brought Gary Coleman in for an appearance, not to just appear at a baseball game, but to actually put a Mallards uniform on, sign a contract, and play in the game. And now, for those of you that aren't as familiar with the Mallards, we're a collegiate summer development team. So we bring in the best college baseball players from around the country. This year we'll have players from Stanford to the University of Florida to Texas A&M, the University of Illinois, places like that. And we're exclusively here to develop these guys on the field and get them ready to go on and play professionally. It's really a baseball internship, if you will. And because of that, the league takes those rules very seriously. And when I said I want to put Gary Coleman in a game, they said, well, that doesn't really fit with the objectives of the league. And I said, well, how about we stage him getting ejected from the game? And they said, sure, that's fine. So we put him in uniform, we bat him lead off. And he goes up and we corked his bat. So we drilled out the inside of it and filled it with Super Balls. And we mic'd him. And we mic'd our umpire. And I scripted this entire, what I thought was really funny, script out. And I gave it to him and I practiced with them and all these kinds of things. And neither of them used anything that I wrote. But the umpire did say something about Gary having a short night as he ejected him from the baseball game. And the reason I tell the story is that it really tells a lot about the shift in the way we've done our business that I'll get to in a second over the last few years, because we actually had a really bad crowd that night. For whatever reason, our pre-publicity wasn't spectacular. We didn't get the buzz around the community. I think that, you know, there's a great comparison between Peter Mayhew and Star Wars and Gary Coleman. Star Wars has a cult following. These people that are Star Wars fans, my daughter is becoming one of them right now at home, will go anywhere and do anything to be affiliated with these people and these characters from the show. Hundreds of people will come out in costumes if we just do Star Wars night without a celebrity appearing at the game. We'll sell thousands of tickets because of it. It's amazing to see the power of Star Wars. It really is. Gary Coleman, on the other hand, is very well known, but really nobody cares or cared, unfortunately. Gary's passed away since. Nobody really had that intimate connection with him. There's not a cult of Gary Coleman fans. And so we didn't see the great attendance. Now, we were able to turn it into a PR win, even though the ticket sales were not anywhere near what we would have expected for the night, and kind of the cost to bring Gary in was relatively substantial for us. So financially, the night wasn't really great overall for us, but we videotaped the whole thing. It was pretty funny. And we got on ESPN, and we got on Fox, and we got on, you know, viral on the internet. And at the time, this is early on in the existence of YouTube, we were the 30th most popular video in the world for like a 2-day window after the event happened. I've still got the screenshot of it on my computer. I can prove it. But you know, the national PR thing is always something that minor league baseball operators love, you know. And it's something that's a goal for us, and we've been very fortunate that 3 or 4 times we've had some substantial national media cover different things that we've done promotionally. At the end of the day, these national PR things don't really pay the bills for us. You know, people in Florida that might see this, or people internationally that might see some of the things that we've done over the years, aren't buying our baseball tickets. We're a very local product, of course. It's fun, and it makes us feel great. And it's fun to tell the stories, you know, to our sponsors and things like that when we get that to happen. And along that line, another time we had a nice kind of national media piece was one time after, this is probably, I think, 3 years ago, after the game, you know, we normally have a beer or two after the game in the courtyard area behind home plate with all of our staff and things like that. And I overhear the guys around this table talking. Has anybody seen the green morph suits that are popular, or the, you know, Always Sunny in Philadelphia and a couple other things? These kind of or head to toe suits that cover everything, you know, and they're spandex, and they're really crazy looking. And they're talking about these things, and one of the guys on staff happened to have one, and he said, I really want to run across the field, and I overheard it, and I walked over, and I said, what are you guys talking about? Because I could tell they were almost being secretive about it. And they said, well, we want to do this thing with this morph suit, but there's no way you're going to let us do it. I mean, it would be terrible. And I'm like, I'm offended at this point because this is what we do. You know, these are the fun, crazy things. I said, guys, that's a great idea. You know, it's exactly the kind of thing that we should be doing. And then we proceed to develop a script. Of what we're going to do. So the next night, we have this crazy intern put this costume on, and he runs across the field in a really weird way, just flapping his arms and legs and stuff like that. And our entire staff, like 15 of us in our green polo shirts that we wear at games, tackle this guy relatively violently. But nobody knows the difference. Everybody thinks this is a real. This may be actually the first time I'm telling this entire straight story publicly. Because what happened? So we tackle him, and then we scripted it that we get up, everybody kind of disperses except for the two guys that are kind of escorting him off the field, and then we script it that he breaks away. And then he breaks away and streaks towards the center field gate that we have. And behind the center field gate, there's a guy in another yellow spandex suit this time. And he opens the center field gate right on cue, that gives him a high five and locks the center field gate as we're like falling and running into the fence behind him and things like that. And he had to be there. It was pretty funny, trust me. One thing led to another. We sent it out to kind of weird websites, like this place called the Bro Bible, something I'd never heard of before. It was the first website to pick it up. And then the Huffington Post picked it up. And then where else did it go? I think when it got onto Yahoo Sports, for instance, it was huge. I think the moment it got on Yahoo Sports, it was like 50,000 views of our YouTube video in about a 2 or 3 hour period, if I remember right. And then it got on to Jimmy Kimmel Live that night. Kimmel, this video is 1 minute and 20 seconds, I believe. And Kimmel, for some reason, played the entire video that night. And he proceeded to tell a couple jokes about it, of course. And I think he compared us to the beggars at Whole Foods, I think, if I remember right. And it was great, and then we, of course, grabbed onto the footage of Kimmel and sent it out to all of our sponsors. Oscar Mayer, of course, is a great client of ours. And they actually, I believe, ran the numbers and said, you know what, that paid for our entire sponsorship right there. The way we value the media and the viewers that Kimmel had, that paid for our sponsorship, just that one little thing, So, of course, we sent them a bill for twice as much. But those are the kinds of things that we've done historically to kind of get the attention. And what's happened, though, is that they've been kind of inconsistent, I mean, honestly, this YouTube thing with the green men running around was great. It was funny. It was a great story to tell, and it worked very positively for our business and our relationship with some of our clients that had a national concern. But again, it didn't really sell us tickets. And so what we've done is we've gone away from that kind of model where we rely upon the crazy promotional stuff that we've done over the years. We still do it, don't get me wrong. But we've really started to invest more in our ticket sales people. When we started, we were probably 2 or 3 employees. Even until 5 years ago, we probably, I think, had 5 people on staff. As we sit here today, we have 18 full-time employees working for us, primarily selling tickets, some of them doing sponsorship and PR and advertising sales and things like that. Some of them kind of doing a service or operations type role. We have an executive chef now, which is kind of fun because it opens up all kinds of doors. He actually, he wraps as well, which we've been trying to get him to wrap some of the menu items and things like that for us over the years, but he hasn't done it yet. But, and so it's, and what's happened then is that our model has shifted from being very in season. I bet we used to sell 2/3 to 3/4 of our tickets would sell from the day we open the season until the end of the season. And now we've probably flipped that entirely on its head. I would say that we sell more than 2/3 of our tickets prior to our first game. And that's so powerful for us. The promotional stuff that we do now becomes entertainment. It used to be that was the only way we were going to get people into the stadium. Now now we know we've got the people there, and we're much less likely now. Like we used to take our bobblehead nights, our giveaways that we thought were going to drive some attendance for us, and we do them on Monday night. We'd get a decent crowd on Monday night because of this promotion. And now we flipped it on its head and said we're going to do the bobblehead and the fireworks and all these kinds of things on Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday when we have the big crowds, because we want those big crowds to come back. We want them to have a spectacular experience. And we've noticed that the only way to really get people to consistently come to our games on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and things like that are not maybe number one on most folks' list, is that we physically don't have any seats for them to come to the other games. And so that's why we kind of switched to this kind of power promotional model that combines our ticket sales people focusing on the weekend dates, along with our best promotions focusing there, and then it pushes everything else out to these other dates. On that note, as we sit here today, about 10 days before opening day, we have, for the month of June, which is always our slowest month, our baseball team, you get through the 4th of July, and then you pretty much, for us at least, we've historically been almost sold out every game after the 4th of July. June is a little bit hit and miss. We'll normally do pretty well on the weekends, but the weekdays can be tough. Weather can be a factor in June. We have less than 10,000 tickets left for the combined total of our 14 games in the month of June. And we walk up on average now about 750 to 1,000 people a night. So we anticipate the vast majority of our games in the month of June to be sold out. And if we can accomplish that, there's a chance that we sell out almost every game the rest of the way after that, which would be the first time we've ever really gotten close to doing that. That's kind of a little bit of a kind of the business strategy. And the reason we've gotten there, of course, has been I think that we built this brand up over our first 9 or 10 years that people liked, and when they interacted with it had a positive experience, but we never really pushed them too hard to try and make a decision early. And now with our investment in sales staff, we're starting to have that. You know, Josh was telling me about my sales guy wearing him out, I'm sure, to bring his group outing out from the ballpark. And that's become our job. You know, we've become less of a promotional PR company and more of a sales company. And that's given us a lot of stability. But the sales part of it, I don't think would have mattered had we not had the kind of PR successes and marketing successes that we had early on. So I think you asked a little bit about some of our process stuff and things like that. A few years ago, I read this book that talked about the adjacent possible. And I think that we really pride ourselves in always thinking about the baseball teams that we're operating and what's going on around us and trying to figure out ways to bring these things together. One of our more proud items that we did as a giveaway a few years back is Protest Maynard, which I don't know if you guys know or not, but there was a protest here in Wisconsin a couple years ago. And this was a big deal. We got a little bit of national media on it. We got great local interest in it. I got some folks on certain sides of the political aisle calling me up saying, why are we attacking them and things like that. We do not take a political position ever, and we did not with this, in my opinion. And actually, we ended up getting people from both sides of the aisle coming out with groups that night, kind of having some fun with it, because we left it as a blank protest, so you could write whatever you wanted to protest on the ball. And it was a big hit for us. And it actually, in this case, we did actually schedule it on a slower night because the dates around it were pretty popular already. And we did end up selling that game out, I think, in a large part because of this, and just kind of combining the Mallards and what we can do with what was around us. Another one of our favorites was Evolution of Maynard bobblehead doll. So this is our perspective. We're not scientists, apparently, but this is our perspective on how Maynard would have evolved from the rubber duck to the Neander duck to the full-fledged Maynard a few years ago. Again, a huge hit for us, definitely turned into a sellout night. We feel like the ballpark is a spectacular canvas to do a lot of things, and we're really only limited by our creativity around what we can do and our ability to execute, and we do not need to be a baseball team. We are a baseball team first. We love baseball. We won our league championship last year. We had a spectacular baseball team, but we understand very, very much that that's not what's going to be, that's not what's going to drive our success for years to come. I have a 6-year-old daughter who somehow, after having gone to probably 250 baseball games in her young life, knows absolutely nothing about baseball. But she loves baseball, and she loves coming to the games, and she loves the feeling, and she loves the music, and she loves the things we do on the field in between the innings, and she can tell me all of these things, and she'll tell me when we make mistakes, and she'll pick up on that. When I ask her about, can you name one of the baseball players? She looks at me like, why would I care who the baseball players are? And my son at 2 apparently already knows more about her, or more about baseball, I'm sorry, than she does. So it'll be interesting to see them go. But, we do have a Star Wars night coming up this year, which I think will actually usually be one of our more popular nights of the year this year. Again, we're taking bobblehead form with the promotion, and we're going to do a two-sided bobblehead. The front side is going to be Darth Maynard, if you can picture it. They're kind of back to back, and the other side is going to be Jedi Maynard. So it's literally faces on two sides of it, kind of back to back, the dark side and the good side, I suppose, of the Force, which will be a fun night. It looks already to have a substantial amount of buzz. Another thing that I really attribute to this idea of the adjacent possible is Lego nights. We've had unbelievable success taking Legos and building kits out of them to make. We have a Lego Maynard that we did a few years ago. So you actually get a kit when you come into the stadium. It's a Lego Maynard. This year I think we're doing a building. Our team in Kenosha is actually doing their mascot as well. And it's one of these things that it's a great touch point for us. I mean, it sold some tickets for us for sure. For the people that came, that got them, it was a great experience. I remember the day after we did the first one, I sat with my daughter for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it took and built this thing. And I thought to myself, how great is that there's 1,000 families around Madison today probably going through a similar experience, you know, and interacting with our brand in a cool way. But we were able to kind of take advantage of the Lego brand, obviously, and connect it with us and make it something really special. You know, I think you talked a little bit about energy, and I think that one thing that's happening for us organizationally that you referenced a little bit is we've gotten very aggressive in pursuing teams. We actually have 4 teams now. So my bio must have been old that I sent you. We bought the team in Green Bay in November of this year. So it's relatively recent. Our bio might not even be updated on the website yet. But so we have 4 teams, and we've created an entity called Big Top Baseball. And the goal and really the driving force behind what we're doing with these 4 teams is it's people, and we feel like that's where we get the energy. Is we love the opportunity to bring young people into our organization and give them a chance to go out and do whatever it might be. In the summertime, our baseball team would not exist in the way that it does without our 25 interns working for us. These people get put into essentially a full-time job. The responsibilities they have, be it managing staff, managing our show, managing whatever it might be, is something that a normal business that's not seasonal like we are would invest in a full-time employee, and we can't. So we have to give these people experiences that normal businesses might not. And what's happened over the years is that we've gotten some really good people. And you kind of go, if you're a baseball or sports person, you come in as an intern, you do that for a little while, and then you might move into a ticket sales role. Ticket sales jobs are the way into sports. They're tough. These people work hard. They're making 100 phone calls a day to people that they don't know in most cases, and creating relationships. And the positive side of it is that when they get these people out to the ballpark, 100% of the time, they're having a great time. You know, so they're not selling vacuum cleaners, they're not selling cars, you know, and we reiterate that all the time. But what's happening there is that these people will do this for 2 or 3 years, and they'll get really good at it, and we'll realize that we're not going to keep them for 4 or 5 years, because people out there outside of baseball have more money than us to spend on, and they realize that they're good at what they do, and they can probably make them work more normal hours than we do, and they say, man, you know, I can make more money and work less, and I've kind of done this, you know, I'm going to move on. And we don't want that to happen. We want to create opportunities within our organization to keep these people around, because we understand that the job that they have right out of college might not be something they're going to do for 5 years. The problem was when we just had one baseball team, I was the GM, there was nobody above me, I had nobody to, there was only so many spots for these people to go. And we basically created the model now where we can kind of take people and move them around from place to place. The woman that ran our team for us in Wisconsin Rapids for the last 4 years, previous to that had been working on our ticket service department, actually, not even a salesperson really. And she was with us for 5 years in Madison, 4 years in Wisconsin Rapids, actually as a general manager, first female GM in the history of our league. And she did so well there with our team in Wisconsin Rapids that when we bought the team in Green Bay, she moved on to become the GM of the Green Bay team. Bigger market, of course, but also we were able to give her ownership. So she's got a small percentage of ownership in the team. at I think 28 or 29 years old, which is something we're really proud of. That we're able to create opportunities for people to come in and do the right things and work hard for us. That if you want to work in sports at least, you're not going to get that opportunity with the Milwaukee Brewers. You're not going to get that opportunity even with the affiliated teams like the Appleton Timber Rattlers or somebody like that. Those teams are worth so much money that they're not going to give even a minority stake to a good operator. Our teams, especially when we start them up, the investment to get into them isn't crazy, and it's possible for us to create that opportunity. Our team in Kenosha is the biggest startup for us right now. The team in Green Bay, we inherited an old facility that needs a lot of work, very similar to what we inherited in Madison 13 years ago, I suppose. And so Green Bay is going to take a little while. Most of our time right now has been spent on our team in Kenosha, and the name of the team there is the Kenosha Kingfish. We're playing off the Elvis theme very heavily, also the royalty theme, and we're Kenosha, for those of you that aren't familiar, is right next to Lake Michigan. Our ballpark is less than a mile from the lake, so we're playing off the boat theme and the lake theme and all those kinds of things. But our mascot's name in Kenosha is Elvis, and he's been very popular. And I guess I should preface it before I get into some of the things we've done in Kenosha specifically, but Kenosha is a really tough market to communicate in because you're almost directly between Chicago and Milwaukee. And most people in that community connect with either Chicago or Milwaukee radio, TV, newspaper, and so that promoter in us doesn't have the easy venue to communicate with people, and especially with a startup, even though we still have the ticket sales model in Kenosha and a lot of people making calls, we still need to build that brand, and there's not really great ways in Kenosha to do it. There's a daily newspaper, but it only has a distribution of 26,000 people, and the market is about 500,000. So it's really hard to communicate in this town. So we had to really push ourselves to do things that were different. And one of my more proud things we're doing is we've created our own political campaign, Elvis for King. There's, I think, 750 yard signs like this in the front yards of people throughout the entire city of Kenosha, down to Waukegan in Illinois, up to Racine in Wisconsin as well. And it's cool. I personally can't drive into Kenosha without seeing, 10 or 12 of these, and I smile. It's such a good feeling. To play off the royalty theme, we did a direct mail piece to, I think, 10,000 households in the community that were closest to the stadium and kind of fit our demographic of young families looking for affordable entertainment options. And we sent out a postcard that said, it was one of these, what's the technology, the variable printing, where you can change the name of the person. And so at the top of it, in kind of this regal-looking font, it said, "All hail King Walsh," or King, whatever the last name of the household was. And we sent it out to 10,000 people, and we sold a ton of tickets in that week right after we hit that. And we haven't done a ton of direct mail, honestly, over the years, because I guess we haven't had to, but also when we have done it, it hasn't really had the connection that we wanted. You always feel like people aren't going to open that stuff up, right? And that's why we came up with what we thought was a very unique message that really did connect and actually did help us sell us some tickets. And so that, I think, to go back to the energy side of it, we're very young. I'm 36, and I'm far and away the oldest person on our staff right now. And I think that when you surround yourself with people that love the business and want to learn and have some energy to get better at it, it keeps us going, and it kind of keeps us firing. And all these new teams really kind of stokes that creativity as well, and creates an opportunity for us to tell a new story. There's a million things I could talk about with Kenosha, but I'm probably getting close on time here. Is that accurate? I'm already past my time, aren't I? Quick things to recap, come back to Madison this year. Our team in Madison, every year, for going into our 14th year now, we've made significant investments in the facility to make it better. The last 4 years have been the biggest round of improvements. This year is no different. We're adding, I think it's about a 1,500 square foot concrete patio down the left field line, if you're familiar with our family area that we had out in left field with the sandbox and the bounce house and things like that. We've had a lot of maintenance problems with it, not to mention the fact that it's been like a crushed red granite material out there in most cases, and kids can skin their knees on it and things like that. And on top of all that, some of the parents actually want to watch the baseball game, but their kids want to play in the sandbox. And so hopefully there's other people like that, because I'm like that. we created this venue, this concrete patio that I mentioned in that family area that's elevated up, and we're going to put a bunch of picnic tables on it so you can watch the game on one side, and your kids will be in the sandbox area on the flip side. So you can actually sit in the tables and watch your kids and watch the baseball game presumably at the same time. And so it increases the sight lines that were out there. And then we're getting rid of all the crushed red granite and replacing it with a field turf. So the long grass kind of Camp Randall style, I suppose, field turf will cover that entire area out there that's not concrete. We would have loved for it to have been grass, but fortunately we have so many people coming through there in the summertime, there's no way for us to keep grass alive. And so this project is actually going to be a really cool thing. We envision kids taking their shoes off and running through it and playing in the sand while their parents are up top watching the game. That's our biggest investment in the stadium this year, and that'll be all ready for opening day in 10 days, I think. I hope. And that kind of thing. So I apologize. I know I already went over my time. If anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer them. Yeah.
The first one may not apply, but was there a challenge when it was the Madison Muskies going to the Mallards in terms of just the branding in the city? Did people accept it? Did you have to overcome hurdles of people not wanting a new mascot or new team?
The beautiful thing was it actually went Muskies, and then there's a team called the Madison Hatters here for 1 year.
Oh, yes, right.
And then there's a team called the Madison Black Wolf. And honestly, all these teams ended, in less than fortunate ways. Their attendance had been dwindling, the interest in the community had been dwindling, the stadium was not getting anyone excited anymore. The Muskies definitely had some times that were national. They got all kinds of interesting coverage. But they were, mid-'80s. It was really the last time they were really a compelling draw. And so the beautiful thing was people were really skeptical of us, and they really didn't expect anything of us when we came to town. And that was I was 23, and I was running the team, and I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I did, but, and we took all kinds of risks. And we didn't care because we didn't have anything to lose, We really took that kind of approach. To contrast it, our team in Kenosha is completely different. We've put in almost $1.5 million worth of improvements to this facility. We just put in a 43-foot long wooden fishing boat behind the outfield wall that's actually going to double as the outfield wall and a party area for people to enjoy the game from in Kenosha. We're in the newspaper every day. The expectations around this team are staggering, and it's not gonna. I think we're gonna hit it out of the park. I think we're gonna do all right, but it's totally different than Madison. And we came in, we spent 40-50 grand on some improvements early on, and nobody thought we'd be around for a summer. They didn't think we'd make it at all. And that's kind of a fun spot to be. I love being the underdog. Kenosha, we are not the underdog. We are the biggest thing literally that's happened to that community, in a long, long time. And when we're getting the coverage and all those kinds of things that come along with it, we're getting the ticket sales that come along with it, but we also get the expectations. So we have to make sure we hit that stuff. If I have a chance, I'll always take the underdog spot. It's tough in we're in that spot in Green Bay, and I think I might have forgotten how tough it can be to be the underdog. But it's a fun spot to be, because if we don't have 5,000 people or 1,000 people or 2,000 people at every game in Green Bay this year, who cares? We're going to get better. There have been a team there previous to us for 7 years that never really quite connected with the community, never really had the facility that they probably would have wanted. And we're going to make a few improvements to our facility, but we're going to kind of focus on the things we do well. We're going to entertain really well. We're going to bring in some good promotional stuff, make the facility a little bit better. Do some great food. We love the opportunities the ballparks present us with food. We're doing all kinds of weird things all the time with ballpark food. And we'll do those things in Green Bay. So we'll move a little bit, we'll get better. Being the underdog is a great spot to be. And I'll tell you in a month how we feel about being the, I don't know, what do you call the big, I don't know what you call being the other side of it. That's how I used to being the underdog. We are, but I think it's going to work out all right for us, but it's definitely a completely different spot, yeah.
Sorry, I had a follow-up. Is the Star Wars night more just have one big event for the summer, or is there actually a good amount of money you make for that game? The reason I ask is, now Disney owns Lucasfilms, and won't you pay like $1 billion in licensing fees?
They couldn't have been cooler to work with. Yeah, it was amazing. It blew my mind. We called Lucasfilms up and we said we'd like to do this, and they said, well, you got to send us the. And I didn't deal with it personally, so I don't know exactly the positioning that we got them to feel good about it. I think we're doing some kind of charitable side to it, so there's going to be some kind of not-for-profit fundraiser tied into it. I don't remember honestly exactly how that works, but I think that triggered allowing them to sign off on it. And I was staggered by it. It's funny because like 5 years ago, it was one of these things we just would have done and hoped that nobody paid any attention to it. And we got a little smarter, and we asked for permission, and they signed off on it, and they couldn't have been much easier to work with. So yeah, we were very pleasantly surprised, and when we realized as a staff that we had to take this concept to Lucasfilms, it was a really scary time for us because we knew it was going to be a big deal, and we didn't want to lose it, but they were great. Yeah.
One of the things you touched on, I think everyone can benefit from here, is this idea that your fan experience or the customer experience really drives everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure,
like,
yeah.
you closely integrate your planning, and it drives, ticket sales, and obviously your marketing complements that. So one of the things that we should all look at probably is our customer or healthcare patient experience, everything like that. So what advice would you give to us, for those of us in marketing communications who also, do we need to take a closer look at the operations within our organizations? And how much time are you spending really making sure that there's this consistent and seamless and improved experience so that all the other parts of your business work?
We never stop focusing on that side of it. Every year, every week, every month, we're spending time on trying to improve the fan experience and customer service. I'm sure most of the people in the room know, my business partner, Steve Schmidt, who's the owner of the Mallards, owns the shoebox outside of Black Earth, or in Black Earth, I suppose. That is a customer service business. And when we started the Madison Mallards, we were built in that vein to take care of people. Steve will tell you stories of people that have had work boots from him for 15 years, and they'll bring them back and say, Steve, I'm not really happy with how these work boots have worn. And Steve will give them a new pair of boots. And that's the focus on customer service. That it's like every year we're going through it right now with our staff. I tell them that story. I talk about Steve. This is the owner. We're business partners now, I guess, but this is the guy that really we're modeling ourselves after and trying to emulate. And I'll tell them, it's like when somebody comes up and has a bad pretzel, and they want something new or they want their money back, well, what do you think Steve would do? Is Steve going to fight with them over the pretzel? And I had that happen. The reason I say pretzel is I had it happen last summer where like a good friend of mine who's a fan had a cold pretzel and brought it back to our concession stand, and they gave him another cold pretzel, and then they gave him another cold pretzel, and then they refused to give him their money back. And I was like, you're kidding. I don't know where our training broke down because that's the exact polar opposite of what we want to do. And I feel like we haven't done a ton of that over the years, but it happens. We grabbed that employee and said, this is not how we handle these things. We don't care about a $2 pretzel. We care about the opportunity. And it's like is it Hilton, I think, that always talks about every negative customer service interaction is a spectacular opportunity to make things right. And if something goes wrong for you at our baseball stadiums, assuming that there's not some kind of breakdown in our staff, you're going to be treated like a king. We're going to go out of our way to do whatever it is that we need to do to make that right, and we've done everything you can imagine over the years to make that opportunity right, because we feel like there's never a better time than when there's that person that's unhappy, than that time to go above and beyond and give them an experience that they'll tell all their friends about. And that's definitely something we're always thinking about, both from a training perspective, but also from a facility perspective, and from just a day-to-day interaction with our fans. We'll always have time to sit and talk to. We've got all kinds of crazy super fans, for instance, that are at the stadium every day, and they always have ideas for us and stuff like that. And if I ever see one of my staff members not giving those people the time that they need, it's a big deal for me. And I say, you know what? You've got time to sit back and hear what this person has to say. And you know what? They might have something that's really great. We had a fan a couple years ago, as actually a student, I guess, came to us and said, why don't you guys do Bacon Appreciation Night? And and we're like, oh my God, why aren't we doing Bacon Appreciation Night? And it's become a staple. We do Bacon Appreciation Night in all 4 of our teams once a year, and we do, on that line, I had a fan come up to me that night and say, man, Vern, why aren't you serving chocolate sundaes covered with bacon. And I said, why aren't we serving chocolate? And so literally 5 minutes later, we made a PA announcement and we were serving chocolate sundaes covered with bacon, and that's how, that's the flexibility we've got as an organization, that we can make those things happen, and that's kind of what I love about these teams, is that they're small enough that we can still be reactive and hear what people have to say, and not all the ideas we get are great, but every once in a while we get some really spectacular stuff that really will change a lot of what we do. All right. Great. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you.
Something for you. Appreciation for
Thank you so
coming
much.
out.
I
Thank
appreciate it. Thank you, Terry.
you. Will you be able to stay and
Yeah,
answer some questions?
for sure.
So, we'll see you at the pro meeting in
Yes,
June.
there is no luncheon in June, and Louisville luncheon is the Friday 20th pro day. So look for your invite, and hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.